Hey everyone.
Hi, Mil. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks. You excited?
Absolutely.
A lot of pressure on the engineering team at the moment, of course.
A little bit. It's good. Good pressure.
Hey, Fredik, how you doing?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yeah,
Hello?
coming through loud and clear, Fredik. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here. I can feel the positive vibes. And already 48 community members in the audience. This looks promising.
Absolutely. Jan, I think we might have to. We're keen to speak to you about your nodes. We may have to hold off. We've got quite a packed agenda today, but we're super interested to hear about your farming experiences on farmer office hours. Let's see how we're doing for time. Okay. Well, as I mentioned, we do have a packed agenda. So, Fredik, are you ready to kick us off? Are you muted?
Oh yes, I am excited to. Yeah, let's get the ball rolling. So first, welcome everyone. We feel thankful and very glad you could make it. And welcome to aboard Stake Wars Phase 2 kickoff call. Today certainly marks another milestone that enlivens subspace domains in our decoupled execution framework. And please allow me a quick one-on-one introduction to those who recently dropped in and feel getting familiar with all this. Our protocol separates consensus from execution through a decoupled execution framework of modular and flexible environments called domains. So instead of the usual monolithic execution layer run by smart contracts within the protocol, our decoupled execution offers a flexible framework with independent domains that support any environment that can be implemented within Substrate, such as EVM and WebAssembly. Nova EVM shines bright as our first domain, enabling Ethereum smart contracts to do their magic in Subspace. So to sum up, together, of course, with the novel Dilithium consensus and distributed storage network, domain environments in our decoupled execution framework lie at the heart of the unique scalability, decentralization, and efficiency that define Subspace. Among other things, it solves the known problem of blockchain state bloat. It's really teamwork in space. Our farmers keep the availability and order of transactions, while state operators execute them with a very interesting and unique validation approach called optimistic fraud proof validation scheme. More about it in our research category forum. I'll be happy to share the link to those interested to dive in. So yes, you heard correctly. I said farmer and staked operators, which lead us to stake wars. And again, let me pause for a moment for the benefit of those who recently joined. A brief recap of this exciting initiative so far. So we've journeyed from the first announcement of Stake Wars on September 29th, after being hinted at in recent community calls. And days later, we detail how on forum, always on forum, I'll share all the links here, how different players, which are the different players involved and their role, like the farmers, the operators, the nominators, and the different phases of Stake Wars. And this was followed later on in November 10th by calling all participants to announce a 1 week postponement of the phase 2, which we're starting today, on account of a number of facts we experienced, some complexities in plotting and replotting, perhaps a slower than expected migration from 3F to 3G. Basically, we felt that extended preparation time was in place for the community to adapt to 3G, earn their stakes, and prepare for their roles as operators. On our side, meanwhile, we continue to support and develop tools to assist operations during this transition. Emil will talk more about it. So recently, on November 15th, and November 18th, we finally confirmed the start date of phase 2 base building for today and announced the minimal stake for a 100 TSSC as we observe the progress of plotting and replotting. We also outlined the registration requirements, and we shared our staking interface as we finalize it to simplify the participation in stake wars processes. So it's been a very exciting journey so far, and at this juncture and on these backdrops, many may ask ourselves, what is the role of stake wars within the wider scope of marching towards mainnet? Perhaps Jim can enlighten us about it?
Yeah, thanks for that great recap on recent events there, Pradeep. Yeah, puts us in the picture. So, of course, today is a remarkable day in the timeline of Stake Wars as we embark on phase 2 base building. This phase is a critical juncture in our journey towards a decentralized, resilient, and robust network. Before diving into the specifics of phase 2, let's take a moment to reflect on the broader vision of Stake Wars, because this contest is more than a series of isolated events. It's a comprehensive exercise in testing, refining, and perfecting our network, from farming to staking, from operators to nominators. Each aspect and each phase is designed to contribute to the overall strength and functionality of the Subspace network. As we transition into phase 2, remember that you are not just participants, but essential architects of this groundbreaking venture. So far, our Orbit Phase 0 introduced the Gemini 3G network, which is an iteration of the wider Gemini 3 incentivized testnet. Phase 1, Planetfall, is where those incentivized testnet rewards were activated on 3G. We'll talk about Phase 2 in a moment, but before I do, I want to point out that in a short while, we will activate Phase 3, which will welcome nominators and their nominated stake to the fray. This will be a great opportunity for those who have not quite made the stake to be an operator to participate and get a share of the dedicated rewards pool for Stake Wars. So don't feel too bad if you've not been able to accumulate 100 TSC yet. You will also have the option of registering as an operator later. It doesn't have to be today. It can be done at any point during the contest after we remove the allow list, live on this call. So what's Phase 2 all about? At its core, Phase 2 is where we shift gears from the foundational work of farming to the dynamic world of decoupled execution. Operators, your role is pivotal. You are the backbone of the execution environments, which, as Pradeep mentioned, we call domains on our network. With the commencement of this phase, you'll be registering as operators and starting to actively engage with the Nova EVM domain by executing transactions and maintaining the vitality of our ecosystem. We recently announced a critical element, the min stake requirement of 100 TSSC. This requirement is not arbitrary. It's a deliberate choice to ensure that our operators are already invested in the network's success and stability. It's a testament to your commitment and belief in the Subspace network. And remember, the stakes are high, quite literally. The higher your stake, the greater your probability of being selected for bundle production, and consequently, the higher your potential earnings for transaction fees. Phase 2 is not just about technical performance, it's about building a community of collaboration and support. We encourage you to actively engage in our dedicated Discord channels, share your experiences, seek support, seek nomination, and offer guidance. This collaborative spirit is what will drive the success of Phase 2 and the entire Stake Wars contest. As we move forward into this new phase, I want to remind everyone of the importance of maintaining high uptime and ensuring that your operator nodes are fully synced before registration. The reliability and efficiency of the network hinge on your active participation and diligence. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Your role as operators is essential to the network's integrity and performance. On a more candid note, our overarching goal for Stake Wars is to shake down domains, execution, and the subspace staking functions. We anticipate that challenges will arise, things will break, and unforeseen issues will come to light. We ask that you judge us on the transparency and fairness of our response to those events when they happen, rather than the fact that they have occurred on our testnet. But let's not forget the fun and excitement that comes with such a contest. Engage with each other, learn from each other, and enjoy the process. Phase 2 is an opportunity to demonstrate your skills, make your mark on the network, and earn rewards for your contributions. Hopefully that sets the scene of phase 2 starting, and everyone understands why we're here. We're inviting operators on board today by removing the allow list. We do have to set some ground rules down. So I'm going to ask if Emil can just take us through the rules of engagement. We have these posted on the forum. I'll drop the link in a moment. But Emil's going to give us a rundown on the important points that all operators must be aware of. You take it away, Emil.
Of course. Thanks, Jim. Yes, stake wars, rules of engagement. These are really important critical items that operators need to be aware of. So first of all, for the domain liveness, we kindly ask operators to only register after their operator node has successfully and fully synced. Ignoring this will mean that you will be considered for the bundle production, but do not have an operator attached to execute the transaction in the bundle. Disproportionate stakes can affect the network greatly if the operator behind the stake is not online. We are working on putting guardrails in place to prevent concentration and ensure decentralization at the protocol level. Running an operator comes with an expectation that high uptime is maintained. And we appreciate, of course, that there can be some infrastructure issues, but we would expect any downtime to be kept to an absolute minimum. And of course, there will be consequences for breaking these golden rules. They will be at the team discretion, and we will be monitoring proceedings of chain. But if we see something troubling occurring, we will reach out in Discord to explain and work out the details with anyone struggling with running an operator, and the team decision is final in these situations. But just as a rule of thumb, we would consider looking into an episode of downtime if operator is offline for 15 epoch transitions. And Jeremy will provide us with more information about epoch transitions a few minutes later. And through this will vary based on the amount of TSSC the operator has staked. One important note, there is a limit to the number of staking requests for each epoch. So namely, each epoch, which takes about 10 minutes, only 100 staking requests at most will be accepted. So we anticipate that if each and every one of you try to register on the domain at the same time, some of the transaction may fail. Please keep that in mind. So overall TLDR, you must keep your operator online. Otherwise, you need to deregister it. And any node believed to be intentionally registered but not participating is subject to summary disqualifications. As Jim mentioned, it's really important to sync your node, operator node from Genesis. So this means that any existing nodes you have set up as farmers will not work. You will need to set up a new environment and ensure you wipe or use a per chain command to wipe any of the existing node information. But important note is that all of the plots that you've previously created do not need to be wiped. You can keep them. And as for the domain code completion, we are completely transparent that domains are not entirely finished yet. This does mean that there are some known potential attack vectors with the current implementation, and anyone found exploiting them will be summarily disqualified for the initiative, and the rewards earned distributed among remaining participants. And if anyone finds something we're not aware of, we would be extremely grateful if this could be communicated to the team. There could even be a token of appreciation on the table for reporting a critical problem we were not already aware of. And to make sure that each operator feels support of the community and from the team, we set up a number of dedicated channels in Discord. So there is channels for operators, nominators, and for promotions and P2P support named operators and nominators. And we fully expect to see political campaigns from operator teams trying to attract farmers and to nominate to their operators during the phase 3, of course. But at the moment, I've already seen some messages of people trying to invite some other participants and to transfer tokens to them so that their stake is larger. So this is also some great interactions to see and to note in these channels. And our documentation is developed as we go along, and we are grateful for your patience and feedback, and it's always welcome. This is a collaborative effort on incentivized testnet, so please continue to help us improve them. And we have a native staking interface available at staking.subspace.tools. I would appreciate if someone could drop it in the chat. So we have a new and completely native interface for staking available. I think that's it for the Stake Wars rules of engagement. Nazar, would you like to take it away and to remove the allow list to actually start the second phase of Stake Wars?
Right, I always have a pleasure of making these important changes. Sure. Will take maybe a few moments.
So, in case anyone's not aware of what's going on, Nazar is removing the allow list that has prevented our very eager operators from registering up until this point. This is, of course, so that everyone can register and start processing transactions at the same time.
Right, I think transaction went through. I will send a link to the Explorer in the chat. So all of this was enabled in block 334,684. Yeah, we all know.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So hopefully not everyone's going to run off now and register their operator immediately, because we still have some very important items we want to talk about. So that's wonderful. Thank you, Nizam. We do like to build the tension by having live transactions on the call while we're all listening, of course. So as mentioned, the allow list has been removed. Our prospective Stake Wars participants are now able to submit the transaction to register your operator. And you're going to start processing transactions. But not straight away, not immediately, because there's a very important component. I have spoke about this in Discord previously. There's actually a feature of our execution environments called epochs. You're probably aware of this concept from other protocols, but there's almost a tick. I'm going to fluff explaining them, which is why Jeremy, our CTO, is going to talk for a few minutes on epochs and what they're all about. So could you take it away, please, Jeremy?
Yeah, I got to say, every time those transactions are going through, my hands do sweat. Nazar's got nerves of steel doing that live. So I'm glad it's him and not me. And also, Jim, I'll probably fluff the explanation of this as well, but I'll at least give it a good attempt. So first, I'm going to drop a link to the Subnomicon. So those of you not familiar with the Subnomicon, this is work that we've been doing. Primarily Daria, one of our research engineers, who's done an incredible job of making things, I think, easily consumable about the protocol. So a lot of information. in there that's something easier than a spec, but more detailed than you might get just from the website. So anything I get wrong or is confusing in how I explain it should be clear in that document. So first, I'm going to use the term operator and operator pool interchangeably. Really what's happening when you set up or when you register as an operator is it's creating essentially a pool that in a couple of weeks will allow kind of the next class of participant, the nominator, to join. So for now, I'll probably say operator, but if you can think of it as a pool when I'm speaking, I think some of the stuff will make more sense. So just mentioned that there's these transitions that happen because things don't happen immediately when you're staking or unstaking and doing the different transactions around being an operator. Instead, everything happens in 100 domain block kind of chunks or at an epoch. During each epoch, there's a fixed set of operators that are selected from on a stake-weighted basis to produce bundles. So for every 100 block chunk, that distribution is preset. Fees that are processed from execution receipts that are included on a produced bundle once a domain block has been confirmed. So there is some lag from the time like a transaction fee is paid by somebody on the EVM domain and it ends up with an operator. Confirmed means it's gone 256 blocks, which is kind of our current challenge period, time period where operators, if they see something untoward, they can submit a fraud proof showing that. As these fees are processed, they're applied to a field called current epoch rewards for a given operator pool. And then that accrues during the epoch. When the epoch has come to completion, we perform a transition. During this transition, a lot of things happen. Like I said, go to the Subnomicon, it explains and lists these out well. But I'll attempt to kind of walk through these as well. So first, the next epoch operators are determined. So this will remove any operators who deregistered or were slashed during the previous epoch and add any that were registered. Any unlocks that are to occur from pending withdrawals or new deposits will happen. And then we will finalize what we call domain staking summary. The domain staking summary has some kind of accounting in it. And then to understand that accounting, you can think of kind of an operator pool, much like an open-ended investment fund. In the US, we call them mutual funds. But they have basically a set number of shares and a total value for some set amount of time. So we'll call that an epoch. And then accounting will happen that takes into account deposits, withdrawals, and the change of total value. So in our case, a share's value at a given epoch is simply the total pool divided by the outstanding number of shares. These shares become a unit of accounting for any activity such as deposits and withdrawals. If you're depositing to the pool, your SSC value will be converted into more shares, and the beginning total value for the pool will increase for the next epoch. Withdrawals have the opposite impact. In processing rewards, so every epoch, the value per share should increase as unlike maybe an investment fund where the underlying assets are going up and down. In TSSC, the value of per share for a pool should only go up, and it goes up by the amount of epoch rewards X the tax that is paid to the operator owner. So the first step in the process is each operator owner gets the nomination tax, which is the current epoch rewards times whatever the tax has been set. As you're registering, you'll notice there is a field for a tax. This will automatically be restaked by updating the operator's shares via a deposit based on the current value per share. So it's very similar, works just like as if you were adding to your stake. The total value of the pool then increases by the remaining current epoch rewards, which will then, as I mentioned before, increase the value of each share. Any withdrawals are then processed based on that current total value and are added to pending unlocks. Deposits are converted into number of shares and added to the nominator shares, and then the total shares and total stake value will increase. And that's basically it. I may have missed some minor details in all the things that happened during the epoch transition, but I think I've hit on most of the things people are going to be interested in seeing.
Thanks, Jeremy. Very important concept we're talking about there. I like to think about it as kind of an epoch transition is when all the accounting goes on. So, of course, you know, people coming into the domain, leaving the domain, stake the same, coming in and leaving. It's just how I like to conceptualize that. While you were talking, Jerry, while you were focused on giving us the epoch rundown, of course we've had some drama, and the removal of the allow list didn't work on the first go, it looks like, but we're now there. I can see that people are confirming we can register, so we're off to the races. Of course.
Glad I missed it. I missed some extra anxiety, so I'm glad I was focused and not looking at chat.
Okay, I've got my heart's beating. I'll tell you that much. But it sounds like people are there now, so I'm really pleased.
All right,
to see
says that. All right, registrations are going through. Great.
Okay. Wonderful.
Oh, there.
Okay. Well, hopefully people will come back because they've furiously been spamming the submit transaction button while you were talking. Maybe they'll come back and listen again later. And we've always been transparent that we're expecting unknown unknowns. This is quite literally the frontier for us. This has all never been run before. Certainly not on Gemini 3G transactions. So. Yeah, excited to see that it's going through.
Yeah. So it's live TV. You know, you get more interesting things happening.
Absolutely. I like to think that's why we get so many viewers. Of course, people want to see what's going to go wrong. Okay, thanks for that rundown, Jeremy. Really interesting understanding how epochs work, and a very important concept for our operators to understand. So we're going to transition now into something just as risky, of course, is Emil is going to demonstrate how to set up an operator. Are you ready to take that away, Emil? Are you going to do a screen share for us?
Oh, yeah, let's give it a try. Yeah, live demos, I love them. So I will be following this guide. I just posted the link here in the chat. Let me share my terminal with you. Sorry. Okay, can you see my screen? I think you should be able to see my terminal.
Yeah, that's coming through. Thanks, Emil.
Yes, perfect. So the first step into becoming an operator is, of course, synchronization. And to begin with, let's first generate a new key pair, and the key pair will be needed later to participate in the bundle production. To generate a new key pair, I'm using the command key generate --scheme SR25519. And here it is generated, and it's really, really important to store it safely and securely and to back it up, because you will use the public key or hex when you will be registering an operator on the domain. But the second step would be to insert it into the permanent key store location. So I'm start typing Subspace node as well. And the next one I'm using is key insert --suri Then I'm passing the secret phrase from the very first line. And I'm copying the rest of the command from the docs, just in order to not make any typos. So I'm specifying key type opera -- scheme SR25519, and I'm providing the key store path. And it's really, really important to make sure that you store it securely, as I mentioned, and any of the temporary folders will be deleted, like on Linux-based systems upon reboot. But for me, that's exactly what I'm planning to do. So I'm providing the key store path as temp folder and a key store. So the command work. And now if I do ls, I will see that there is a temporary folder which has my key pair. And basically what's needed next is to just start an operator node. And once again, I've just copied the command from the docs. So the flag that you need to use is change Gemini 3G. You can provide a name. We are setting the domain ID to 1 because the domain with ID 1 is the domain where the stake wars are happening. I'm specifying change Gemini 3G. I'm passing the operator flag, and I'm specifying the boot nodes to make sure that my domain chain is syncing correctly. And I'm also passing the key store path to the folder which we just created. It's under temp key store. Then I press enter, and that's basically it. So my node would start syncing, and at the moment it takes, I would say, less than 5 hours approximately to sync, so it's not a very, very long time. If you were farming on the same machine previously, as we mentioned during the rules, you will need to purge the chain first. So you need to wipe your node and start syncing from the scratch. Yeah, and I totally understand that as soon as you start your node, you would want to go to the staking interface to actually register. But once again, it's really, really important to first wait till it's fully synced and only then register as an operator on the domain. And now it's over to you, Jim. Would you like to demonstrate on how do you actually register?
Yeah, thanks for that, Emil. So just to recap, what you did there is you generated a key from scratch, a new key that hopefully no one's ever seen before, and then you basically added that to a key store on your operating system in the file system, and then you told your node using the you've closed the screen. The key store path field where that key is, and that's super important because that's how your node is able to identify itself. So when your node is producing blocks, it's using that public key to identify that it came from your node. And of course, before you can do that, you're going to need to register your operator. If I've got that right, Emil.
Yes, you are spot on. Yeah, I like the way that how you're able to actually translate some complicated stuff to make it sound very, very simple. Yeah, thanks a lot, Jim.
No problem, and thanks for that live demo. Always risky, of course, but yeah, you managed to work it up. So before I launch into the next section, I can see a lot of questions in the chat. I appreciate that maybe we should have done the epoch section before the allow list removal, but we wanted to allow time for epochs to pass during the call. Of course, if you're adding stake to your operator, you're going to need to wait for an epoch to pass, for that accounting that Jeremy talked on to be done, and for your operator to become active. So don't panic, everyone. Within 100 blocks, it may already have happened. I haven't been following the chat, but yeah, keep an eye on your node. If you're registered, you should start seeing bundle produced messages. You'll see some new messages in there. We're going to take questions at the end, but I'm just going to talk quickly on the other side of what Emil was talking about. So let me get my screen ready. And okay, let's see. This makes great audio, of course. So I'm hoping that you're going to see my screen. Hopefully you can see the staking interface.
Yes.
Is that coming through? Wonderful. Okay. Okay. So as we just discussed, Emil's generated a key. That key has been associated with your node because you've provided the key to your operator node on the command line. So now you need to register. I know that we've got plenty of excited people who have either already used this interface or maybe they sent the transaction directly on Polkadot.js, or maybe they interacted with the RPC directly. There are multiple ways, of course, to register, but we have tried to make the process of registering and stake management as painless as possible. We've got this new tool, staking.subspace.tools. This is our staking interface. So I'm just going to launch straight into explaining what's going on here. So here is where we can register our operator. We've made it really simple. We've restricted the domain to just the single one available for Stake Wars, which is Nova, ID1. I know we've had some questions about that already. You can provide a minimum nominator stake. This is a value you can specify to restrict the level of commitment required from a nominator to your node. Obviously, that's going to be much more important for phase 3. But what you set this value to is entirely at your discretion as an operator. Note that these values are decimal TSSC. Well, I should say that one in this box here is 1 TSSC. Previous demos of giving of this interface, I've had to add 18 zeros because the precision is the value times 10 to the power of 18. But we've simplified things. So that means 1 TSSC, that means 10 TSSC, that means 100 TSSC. Hopefully the stream's catching up with, keeping up with me there. Okay, hopefully the amount to stake should be self-explanatory. So this needs to be 100 plus for you to, because there's a restriction on the domain. So the min stake for Nova is 100 TSSC. Your wallet you're using to register the operator must have a transferable balance of at least the amount being staked available. If you do check on Polkadot.js, you may see that you've got a balance and then you've got a transferable balance because you've locked it in some way by staking it in the protocol, for example. Nomination tax, another value an operator can use to try and attract nominators and their stake. It imposes an amount the operator holds back from reward distribution. So, as Jeremy mentioned, epochs and that accounting tax is a parameter that goes into that process. A very important point here is that you're unable to modify nomination tax after it's been set. So you set it at registration. And of course, changing that would be unfair on nominators who sign up for one tax value and then see that suddenly they're being processed with another tax value. And if you do want to change that, of course, an operator would need to deregister and then re-register again. Bear in mind, of course, that if you've built up a following of nomination in phase 3, they would be kicked out of your operator, essentially. So something important for operators seeking nomination to consider there. And of course, as we just discussed, note that each registration and deregistration requires an epoch to pass before the accounting is performed and the change is committed. Finally, the signing key here. This is the hex key, the public hex key that is output when you run the key generate command that Emil demonstrated just a moment ago. Hitting next will trigger, I'm not sure if this is going to come out on the screen, but you'll get, no, it doesn't. Okay, so you'll have to take my word for it. I'm being prompted by Subwallet, in this case, to check whether I really want to submit that transaction. You authorize it, and you will be waiting for the epoch to pass, and you'll be registered. Okay, manage your stake. Pretty straightforward. So this is an overview of your staking activity. Here you can see this is my test operator, which is obviously excluded from the contest. This was just used to make sure that the fundamentals were working. You see here that your signing key is listed and the wallet that you use to register your operator. If you have multiple operators, you'll see the same operator account here, but you'll see a second signing key, for example. And then down below, we've got a summary of self-stake funds and nominator stake funds, of course, coming soon in phase 3. Let me just make the screen a little bit wider. So operations I can perform against my operator, my test operator here. I can deregister. I can use this to remove my node from the contest. It's important to do this if your operator node is having issues or you want to exit the competition for good. Again, it takes an epoch transition to update the node status to deregistered. But what we really don't want is nodes that are not synced or struggling or down or for whatever reason. Just pop in and deregister. You can always re-register later. But it's important for the liveness of the network, as we've mentioned. I can add funds. So I may start off with a stake of 100, but I may also have my farmer running in the background, which will get me some more coins. So of course I may want to add stake later on. So I've got 101 coins staked. Hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory. And then withdraw funds back the other way. Of course, I can remove remove an amount of tokens from my stake. And again, everything requires an epoch transition to pass. Something interesting about this is that in a single epoch, you can't have an add stake and a withdraw stake. You can have multiple adds and they will become a cumulative value. You can have multiple withdrawals, but you can't have one of each. The second, say you have an add and then a withdraw, the withdrawal will be ignored. I think the transaction will attempt to process, but it'll actually fail. So just something to bear in mind there. Final tab here, stats. Okay, wow. Okay, so this was looking pretty bare this morning. Okay, so what we're looking at here, it gives us an overview of the state of the network of operators. We can see their tax rate. So this is somewhere where nominators may come to select which operator they'd like to stake with. We expect we'll extend this tool. The minimum nominator stake, of course, so you can see what your competitors are asking as a commitment from their nominators, and the funds. So I can see already we've got some whales on board. We've got 3,000 there. We've got 2,700. Seems like everyone's throwing the kitchen sink at this, which is great to see. So yeah, this is your overview of the operators on the network. And just to wrap up, this tool is actively being developed, the same as the protocol. This is a test net, and we may well have bugs, broken processes, and even some rapid unscheduled disassemblies to coin Mr. Musk. Hopefully not on the launch pad. I think we're approaching orbit. As far as I'm concerned, but anything is possible, of course. And if you do notice a bug, please do report it to us in Discord. And we will be rolling out, as I mentioned, nominator functionality as we go along. But if you have a suggestion for an improvement, again, please do let us know. Catch us in Discord or on the forum. Any of our socials should work. And yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. We want to hand over the remaining 16 minutes of this call to Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And let's see. Has anyone can anyone see? Is there a burning question, or should we try and go through them in order as we've received them?
There seems to be some issues on add funds functionality.
Okay. Add funds sends a nominate transaction, but I thought nominations are disabled. Okay, so I'm happy for anyone else to jump in here, but I believe that actually it's the same transaction, Jonathan. And add funds. Sorry, Jeremy, go on. Go for it.
I was going to say, when you remember, it's an operator pool. I know naming is maybe not as straightforward, but adding funds as the operator owner, which is what everybody is now, is essentially nominating. It's like nominating yourself. It will get mapped to the account that you've added them with.
So it's a nominate transaction. You're nominating yourself, essentially, rather than some. Right, excellent. That makes sense. Okay, I'm going to.
It does not mean you can. It doesn't mean you could be receiving nomination now. You're the only one who can nominate you at the moment.
Right.
That was a confusing sentence.
It made sense to me. Okay. Right. I've scrolled right back to the very start of the questions. Crypto Addict. When next reset? Next reset, certainly after Stake Wars. We are expecting 3H to come sometime. We've got a tentative date. Is it the 20th of December, Jeremy, or is it later?
Yeah, a Christmas gift, roughly.
Okay. Of course, we need to work out exactly. We're going to assess the state of the of Stake Wars as we go along. So it could be a case of we have 3G and 3.8 running at the same time as we did with 3F and 3G. But thanks for the question, Crypto Addict.
And of course, Jim, as you mentioned, there could always be the rapid. What do you say? Rapid.
Rapid unscheduled disassembly.
Yes, so which could bring it earlier.
Okay, yeah, I mean, so Elon Musk uses that term to talk about his Raptor engines. We will use it to talk about our software. Okay, I've got to call this out. Nerna S. Jim sounds like Piers Morgan. Is that a compliment or is that? I'm not sure. Maybe you can explain. Sir. Is there a tool to make people check if they are fully synced? So two things there really. One is if you're talking about for yourself, you would need to check your node output. It's your responsibility to make sure that you are at chain head. As far as team monitoring, as we talked about, we will be checking liveness. That's all going to happen off chain. So it's not something we want to do, but there is an issue there if we have a lot of stake attached to a downed node, which is, or a group of nodes. So that's what we will be monitoring off chain. There's not a tool, no. Can we, Crypto Addict again, can we transfer my operator to a different device after a few weeks? You absolutely can, Crypto Addict. We've got a very basic explanation, but essentially you need to make sure that you manage your keys. You need to take the signing key from machine A to machine B, and you need to make sure that you don't have both nodes running at the same time at its core. I believe, Emil, I think you may have added some notes to the official docs.
Yes, exactly. I've added them yesterday, and I'm just posting the link in the chat.
Thanks,
Emil. It's under the section switching to another server.
Okay. Alexiem, AM Solutions. I see you getting about. What time can we start register? Hopefully that's been explained now. I imagine you've already registered. Ivan, question that concerns many is whether those who didn't manage to farm 100 tokens by the start of Stake Wars, will they still have the opportunity to become an operator? Ivan, one of our lead ambassadors, Ivan L. Thanks for the question. Yes, absolutely. If you're on 99 coins now, you're more than welcome to register as an operator at any point. Of course, if you can get your chums to pool resources. Maybe they could transfer you some coins. Whatever agreement you can forge with farmers with an abundance of coins, yeah, if you can get, as soon as you get the stake, you're welcome to register at any point during stake wars. Inutic. So we just start operator node, then wait till sync, then register operator, and that's all. Is it needed to restart node after operator registration? It is not, Inutic. You register, and you, after the epoch transition, how much storage does a fully synced node require from Ghost Type Art? I don't have the figure to hand. I want to say something like 10 gig, 15 gigs. Does anyone know?
Yeah, I think it's 120 gigs, or at least if you run both farmer and validator and operator. But I'm not sure if you run only operator, how much space does it actually take.
Okay, I guess the space is a function of pruning, of course. If you set a pruning policy, it will be different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Scrolling down. Fible1 from Node Soda. Can you please link the instructions on nominating from today? Fible1, please do pipe up in the chat if we haven't dropped the link yet. So I assume you mean operating rather than nominating. If you do mean nominating, they will be coming shortly. We've got some information available, but as we build out the tooling, we're obviously going to drop more docs. Crypto Addict, we've answered. Can you use a different device? Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, Ivan, will there be a future update that allows for faster plotting time? Currently, plotting 4 terabyte takes almost 12 days. We talked about this on the last call, Ivan. We're going full bore towards feature complete on the protocol. Certainly, at some point, we're going to have a period of consolidation and look at optimizations. If anyone from the community wants to contribute, we'd be very, very happy to review your PRs. So allows for faster plotting time. Yeah, I would imagine. I'm not sure, Nazar, do you want to add any comments to that question?
Sorry, what was that?
Will there be a future update that allows for faster plotting time?
Oh, absolutely. The idea is that before mainnet we will have GPU plotting enabled, but this is in the future.
Okay. Watch this space. Soon, TM. Ghost Typer. Is there a documentation with which parameters I need to start the node so that it will fully sync? Yeah, absolutely. That's in the operators guide, which if you go over to the staking interface is linked on the front page there. Hopefully you can find that. I'm scrolling through looking for question marks, guys. Okay, so we had some drama around the allowed list still being there. Which key is signing key, public or private key? And litend 1. Please do not share any private keys anywhere. It will be your public key. In litend, I'm going to say. Hopefully that makes sense. How long does an epoch take to pass from chassis? 100 blocks, which is around 10 minutes. Ivan again, am I correct in understanding that the Gemini 3G version is the closest to what we will see in the mainnet? Another question, will future updates require more powerful system requirements? So it's the closest to mainnet so far, Ivan. Obviously, we've got our roadmap, we've got our features dropping in as we approach mainnet beta. The characteristics of the network evolve as we drop those features in. So will future updates require more powerful system requirements? You're on that journey with us. I don't know that we can make any promises either way on that at the moment. Okay, more questions. Okay, concerns that we're not showing up on the stats page. What is the epoch length? 100 blocks, about 10 minutes. Will there be any incentives for devs to deploy dApps on Nova EVM? Nick, do you want to slide into my DMs? If you've got some ideas, I would happily talk to you about that. Nick8319. Lit end again. Does a new key get rid of the existing key? I'm assuming you mean, can you change the key on your node? Yes, you can. So if you are using /temp/key store, as Emil demonstrated earlier, you can. I would take your node down first, and then change the key in that location and restart your node, and you should be working against that new signing key. Okay, Ivanka B, probably a question. So you're asking when start plotting still nothing guideline by YouTube video. Ivanka B, that's probably a question for farmer chat or farmer support. We're going to try and concentrate on just stake wars questions today. Okay, Wezel. For those, Wezel, one of our great community members, for those that have registered, on your manage the stake page, are you showing domains 0 to 3 as rows in the grid but all blank? I'm not sure. I didn't see other domains. Okay, so I think the other domain, or there's a domain 0 which is pretty much dormant. And it could be that the interface is restricted to just domain 1. But I'm not seeing any other domains on the staking interface myself. Non-stopper, I think I was first. Okay, well done, non-stopper. Okay. Of course, if anyone else on the stage wants to jump in and answer a question while I just scroll through the conversation looking for question marks. Okay, so Demaco, or Demaco. This is an interesting, so can you please fix in log only node operator? So you've got a message there, error equals fetch assigned messages. Yes, there's a GitHub issue raised for this. It's something that, interestingly, we're only seeing on pure operator nodes. So if you're running an operator validator, so you can attach a farm as well, you don't see that message, which is interesting. I believe the guys have got an idea on what the problem is, and it's being looked at right now. There is an issue. In fact, if you search Discord for fetch assigned messages or one word, you will find where I've linked the GitHub issue. Emil, I saw you come off mute. If you could start from the bottom coming up, maybe we could meet in the middle on the questions.
Yeah, I was actually trying to catch up to all the questions already answered. Oh yeah, there's quite a few, and you're going through all of them very quickly. Yeah, so the question from Jonathan. So we responded about whether it's possible to add more stake, aka to nominate your operator. Of course, it's possible, as Jeremy mentioned. But there's a second part to the question. If you need to go down, for example, to upgrade your node, you need to deregister and then re-register. Yeah, that's if you expect that your downtime will be significant. We would really appreciate that if you can deregister and then re-register again. But usually for the new releases, your downtime will be only like a few seconds. If you just need to download a new executables, change your command and restart it. So we would assume that in most cases you won't need to deregister.
Absolutely. We're only looking at extended periods which harm the network, Jonathan. So if you've got a synced node, you're just changing the key on. That would be the ideal, which you should be able to do in a few seconds, minutes, as long as, of course, it works.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of screenshots of adding funds failed command. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you cannot register and increase your stake at the same epoch, as far as I know. So you will actually need to wait for an epoch transition to pass before you can add more stake to your operator. So that might have been the reason for this to fail.
Okay. How can I check stake rewards? So from Kogo, if you use the staking interface, you get a running total there. So as each epoch passes, the accounting takes place and your balance on the interface goes up. Alexi M, how can we monitor uptime? Is Node produce any metrics for Prometheus? I believe if you --help, you will see there is a Prometheus endpoint that you can hit.
And the next question is from Nick. Do we know when the transfers will be enabled? Transfers on Gemini 3G are already enabled, so you can transfer the tokens through 2 different wallets if needed.
Absolutely. I imagine we've seen a flurry of transfers today. Okay, so the 6th, probably related. So if you're having a problem with transfers, I don't think that's a stake wars issue. Maybe take that over to farmer chat or farmer support. Adarid, it's possible to set ID for account. It's possible to set signing key. Is the only thing that you can really identify yourself by. Ghost Typer, someone said that nodes used for plotting can't be used, but I synced my node for plotting with sync full, so it should already be a synced full node and I can continue. I don't think that's quite right, Ghost Typer, because you won't have synced the domain. So if you look at an operator node, you'll see that you're actually getting domain and consensus syncing at the same time with messages interleaved. I don't think that's going to work, Ghost Typer, but again, maybe tag me in your logs and we can take a look. Okay, Wezel still not appearing on the stats page. Is that still happening, Wezel? I'm getting towards the bottom now. We're running over here. Is there slashing enabled in the protocol currently? Jeremy, do you mind taking that one?
Sure, there is. So I believe Ved may have answered in line here or in the chat as well. But yeah, slashing is enabled for invalid bundles, bundle equivocation, and I'm blanking on the 3rd, but it's in the chat here somewhere. And we'll be adding to that list. We're actively working on getting all the fraud-proof generation and verification completed. If you're really curious about it, you can actually go to our GitHub and see we have a fraud-proofs kind of epic issue that tracks our progress on that.
Okay. I'm conscious of the time, guys. We are over. There are some more questions in here. Thanks, Jeremy, for that rundown. I've probably answered a bunch of questions that have been answered further down, so I apologise for that. But if you do still have a burning question, please do get it in the farmer chat or actually, what am I saying? The operators channel is where we need to take these questions so that everyone can benefit from the answers. But I'm just going to quickly wrap up. Thanks, everyone. And, as we kick off phase 2, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you. Your enthusiasm, expertise, and commitment are the driving forces behind Stake Wars. Together, we're not just creating a blockchain network, we're pioneering a new era of decentralized technology. So let's embark on phase 2 with a spirit of adventure, collaboration, and determination. Let's build not just a network, but a community and a legacy that will stand the test of time. Thank you all for being a part of this incredible journey, and here's to a successful and rewarding phase 2 of Stake Wars. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. If I may say, I'm very impressed with the level of engagement. These countless questions really show our community with boots on the ground, which is imperative in this testing phase of state wars and domains. So thank you all very much. A heartfelt gratitude to all of you. And yes, like Jim said, please migrate your unanswered questions to the dedicated channels. We'll be glad to answer them ASAP. Thank you all for making the time and showing up.